Welcome back to the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. If this is your first time joining us, I'm your host, Matthew Crory, and tonight I've got Jordan, Leandre, and Bayleigh von Schnieder with me as well. And we are honored to be joined by a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to attempt one anyways. He is the host of the 310 to Left podcast, the minority partner for the Portland Hearts of Pine Soccer Club, a host and announcer for NESN. He's recently been named the co-chair of the Jimmy Fund, and most importantly to me, he's a fellow Mainer. And so if you could please welcome to the Pesky Report for the first time, Tom Caron. TC, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. I got to tell you, we got to talk about your open because it's sort of, I was shivering a little bit because it's got the tarp on the field, and I just have a guttural reaction when the tarp's on the field. That usually means we're scrambling to go on the air and fill some time. So I'd much rather see an open where there's baseball being played. But my
duly noted. We are looking to get a new one for the 2025 season. So we'll definitely take that to heart there.
No rain delay, please. I don't need a rain delay.
Yes.
It's January. I can't be thinking about that yet.
You actually got off relatively, I'm not going to say like better, but like compared to
it wasn't bad.
24
wasn't bad. Yeah, 23 was horrible. I think it was 18 games had at least one rain delay. And it was just insane. And it seemed like it was every other, it was all at the end of the year. If you remember, like it was the rainiest September we had, in 23, we had rainouts and double headers. Chaim Bloom was fired before the first game of the doubleheader, like 2 hours before the doubleheader. It was just, 24 was fine.
That was probably the one game you had a lot of extra content to talk about in that rain delay.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is when we have that situation, we actually don't do a pregame show for the first game because we did the pregame show, right? It was rained out Wednesday or whatever day it was. I think it was a Wednesday. And we did a pregame show and then an hour plus of rain delay fill. And then so they said there's a doubleheader tomorrow. You don't have to do a pregame show for game one. You'll just do between the two games a postgame show. And of course, we get the call, I'm driving in late because we have a pregame show. It's like 11 o'clock. And like, Chaim Bloom's gone. It's like, we need a pregame show. That's fine.
That's the type of stuff they just can't, you just can't predict that ahead of time. I do remember just the discourse on Twitter all year, every single time that there was a hint of rain in the forecast. It was throw up prayers for TC and crew.
It always seemed to me when Jonathan Papelbon was in town, when he was with me, so like it literally was just kind of hoping I still had a job when the tarp came off the field. And we came close a couple times, but we're okay.
Yeah, I was curious how concerned you get about getting an FCC violation whenever he starts rambling. Like, does it get a little dicey for you?
It's the best is, and this has happened a couple of times, when the producer in my ear says, "Interrupt him and go to break." Just interrupt him and go. And that happened. That happened at Winter Weekend a couple of years ago during the Cinco Ocho show or whatever that was. And I was supposed to be the guy keeping it on the rails. And literally at the end of that, so if you ever watch on TV, because it kept going in person, but they're like, our producer, she says, just stand up right now, say thank you and good night. Just doesn't matter what he's doing. Say good night, wrap this up. And it's like, all right, do that.
That was quite the entertainment in person. I think I don't think Jordan or Bayleigh, I don't think you guys were at Winter Weekend last year.
No, I've never been to one.
I was there, and I remember just thinking in my head, like, I don't know how this is going to make it on NESN. Like, I can only imagine what is going to get aired of this right now. Like, we
cut it down. That was my running joke all night. If you remember, I kept saying it was like a 2-hour thing we did, and I kept saying this 15-minute show will be airing next Friday on NESN. The only thing that ever came that was worse than that is the roast of David Ortiz that they had at the house. I'm not sure if anybody around was around for that. But we were there to record it and then kind of cut it down to whatever we could use. And Josh Wolf was the comedian who put it together. And I'd gotten to know Josh a little bit over the years, and I saw him before the show, and he was there, and Bill Burr was there. And Josh's like, "What are you doing here, man?" I was like, "Oh, we're going to air some of it on NESN." He's like, "No, you're not." I was like, "No." Like a half hour. He's like, "You ain't going to get a half hour out of this." And he said, I think he said, like, you won't get a commercial break out of this. And, sure enough, there was not 30 minutes we could air out of, half-hour roast. So
I think seeing the uncut version of that would be like prime YouTube content somewhere down the road. I'm sure someone has it.
It lives somewhere, but I know NESN was real careful that it wasn't going out of NESN. So whoever does have it, it's not at NESN.
So we need to storm the NESN building here and try and recover the tapes.
Yeah, huddle around edit room 7 where it lives.
We'll go find it.
Yeah, we'll say TC sent us.
Yeah, and long way. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time hopping on tonight. We've got a variety of different things to talk about. Obviously, you've been with covering the Red Sox for many years now at this point. I wanted to kind of start though with just some current events and kind of talk about the current state of the Red Sox and really try to be as relevant as possible while we have you here. Today, it seems like there's been some buzz around the Red Sox finally making Alex Bregman an offer, is what the word on the street is saying, as opposed to previously where it was very like, hey, we're interested, but we're not really going to put out an offer. But, I know Carabas well, but Jared's been putting out today that, even though there might be an offer on the table, it doesn't feel super great with Bregman right now. So I guess I'd ask kind of TC, what's the vibe with Bregman right now? Have you heard anything as far as, are the Red Sox serious there? Is it kind of just seeing how the cards fall? And do you really think that he would be a good fit for Boston in the long run?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. I really do. Listen, let's begin with the simple fact. Alex Bregman would bring a lot of what the Red Sox lack to the lineup, right? Right-handed power. And if you look like his pull power, I mean, he's got like a 1,200 OPS in 90 plate appearances at Fenway Park. It would literally be the greatest hitter to ever play at Fenway Park if those were all the numbers you went by, okay? So he's got leadership. He's a winner. He's been through championships. He's got a relationship with Alex Cora that has been through some tough stuff, right? So they've weathered some storms together. I think he would check a lot of boxes for this team. The question is, it's not about money. I know everybody loves to just talk about what the Red Sox do or don't do financially, okay? But if I'm the Red Sox, it's not about money. It's about years. It's about years. How many years are you bringing Alex Bregman in? And if it's 5 or 6 years, which I don't think they're going to do, and if I were Alex Bregman, that's what I'm looking for, 5 or 6 years, right? If it's going to be 5 or 6 years, who are you blocking? Are you blocking Campbell? Are you blocking Vaughn Grissom? Are you blocking Marcelo Meyer? Are you blocking, who are you blocking here? Because, this next great wave of prospects, and I'm not a huge prospects guy. I always say parades are better than prospects. Trade them all if you're going to win me a World Series, as Dave Dombrowski did. And if, I would rather go all in because it's been 3 long years. Right? No playoffs in 5 out of 6. We have been through the rebuilding process. This is now the longest run without a championship in the John Henry, Tom Warner era. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's 6 years without a championship. They've never gone that far before. Right. So this is, it's time. And I think if you're going to look at it as a glass half full of the last few years, they've built up the farm system. They've already traded some of them away for Garrett Crochet, who I think is going to be a monster. Mm. All of this leads to what Sam Kennedy told us at the end of last year, what Craig Breslow said, what Alex Cora said, that this is going to be a team to win 90, 95 wins next year and has to be a team trying to win the American League East. Great. Alex Bregman helps you do that. He just doesn't help you 5 years from now when you're trying to have these young guys all over the infield. Okay. So if this has been a waiting game, if this has been a way to try to get him for 3 years and overpay if you have to for 3 years, and they get him, then well played, well done. Okay, mm-hmm. That would be great. As a fan, I really like Alex Bregman as a player, and if I can get him for the next 3 years, I do it in a heartbeat. More than that, it gets tough. So that's just I think that has been the Red Sox philosophy from the start on this. They engaged with with Scott Boras, I think later than a lot of people thought they would. We were all talking about Bregman for a long time, and they weren't even really talking. But now obviously they've been talking, and like you said, the reports say there's an offer going out, and I would guess it's going to be a short offer, right? I would guess they're saying, listen, you haven't got your 5-6 years. Why don't you come here for 2 years? Why don't you come here for 2 years, and we'll pay you a little bit for 2 years. The old Adrian Beltre pillow contract, right? Rest your head here for a couple of years, and then go get some money somewhere else, or blow us away and you stay here. I wouldn't think it's going to be an offer that he's going to jump at, but they're talking, and that's a good sign. We're getting to I call it the musical chairs stage of the offseason, right? Where the guys who don't have a deal yet, if you're Nick Pivetta, you're sweating it out somewhere, right? Like these guys who don't have a deal right now, they're going to grab a chair at some point before the music stops. And I think, and I'm not telling you any inside dirt. This is what I've been watching and talking to everybody on the Red Sox side. It just seems to me that they're just trying to get him for the fewest years possible.
Yeah, that definitely was the vibe that I got after seeing the reports today and, saying, hey, there's an offer out there, but why would it not be looking likely that he would be, wanting to take that offer? It exactly like you said, that came to mind. Hey, they're trying to, go the short game with him. I wouldn't be surprised if it was as little as 2 years with an opt-out after 1 or 3 years with an opt-out after 1 year, and try to get him locked in to transition before Campbell is in the majors, Anthony's in the majors, maybe Marcelo Meyer as well, basically just bridge that gap. And I think that's going to take a lot of convincing to get Bregman there, because all signs point that Bregman wants at this point his final contract. I think that the ship has kind of sailed at this like high value, contract, unless he wants to go play for, Detroit, where I think his OPS is in the 600s for his career, over in Comerica Park, something like that. And
shorter sample size at Comerica. I think it's like 50 or 60 plate appearances there is about half what he's had at Fenway. But you're right. I mean, it's not that, there's a reason he succeeded in Houston, right? It's the only other ballpark that profiles similar to Fenway, right, with that short left field. So, yeah. I love when Alex Cora talks about we get a lot of left-handers who can put it off the wall. I need some right-handers who can put it over the wall, and he would do that. I keep hearing from people I talk to that the Tigers didn't want to go 5 years either. So, is it 3 or 4 years with Detroit or 2 or 3 years with Boston? They're both. As far as who's going to win sooner, they're both pretty close, I think. You make the argument that, the Tigers probably think they're further ahead than the Red Sox. Red Sox, with all the young players, probably think they're further ahead. If you had third base open right now, and I know you could make it open, and that's a whole other conversation about Devers, but it would be so easy if you were looking for a third baseman. I do get a little concerned that if you sign Bregman and he's your second baseman next year, you're going to be looking at it saying, my second baseman should be a third baseman. My third baseman should be a first baseman. My shortstop should be a second baseman. I mean, it's like San Diego a couple of years ago, right? They finally kind of moved Bogarts. They moved Kim. It started to make more sense for them.
Tatis too, because Tatis was a shortstop.
Right? You put Tatis in shortstop, then they moved Bogarts over to space. It just – things started to come back. They had like 6 shortstops at one point, right, on the roster. It was crazy.
So many.
So
I think
that's one problem. But Cora's been lobbying for him to play second base. Like every time he comes on, when I was in Houston, I always told him he'd be a Gold Glove second baseman. And that's
TC.
Cora doesn't say that without understanding the message he's putting out there.
Of course.
I have to say your interview with Cora at Winterfest or Fenway Fest, was quite funny, because you asked him about Alex Bregman, and then he said, listen, I can't comment on Alex Bregman, right? And then he's like, but let me just tell you about Alex Bregman. And he
talked for like 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes about the guy he couldn't talk about. And the great thing, I said it on the air, the great thing was whoever put together the highlights from our editor group, it was just pull side home run after pull side. It was like 7 consecutive bombs to left field. It's like we're talking about right hand pull power. Well, there it is. That was good stuff.
Yeah. That was it made me chuckle quite a bit, because it's the first time I think since Cora's been here that you've actually heard him comment on a player that he's like saying, I want this guy here. Right. Recruiting in that way and talking about him openly. I think, even like Juan Soto and players like that, he was very hesitant to say anything about
the closest thing he ever said to me on the record, like on the air about Juan Soto, was when I asked him, "Aren't you too left-handed?" He's like, "Well, we're too left-handed, but I will take the best left-handed hitter in the game and put him on. We'll figure it out."
Yeah, there's a difference. He has like perfect splits. His OPS is great against like righties and lefties. Yeah, that's completely different story.
Yeah. We'll find a way to put Juan Soto in the lineup.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about that.
Along a similar lines here, and I know Jordan had a question kind of to ping off of this as well, but were you at all concerned when you were talking to Sam Kennedy at Fenway Fest as well? And I think Lou brought up, hey, where are the guys that the young players can talk hitting with, right? And he's like, Jarren Duran's looking around the batting cages, and it's just these young guys around him. He's like, who can he talk hitting with? And then, hey, like, I'm going to push back on that and say, we have Trevor Story, we have Rafi Devers here. Were you at all, concerned with that sort of narrative and making it kind of seem like, hey, they don't feel like there is a need for that veteran leadership, or have through talking with players and with, talking with Cora, do you think that they feel that, hey, Trevor Story really is enough of that veteran leadership there to kind of carry the team?
Yeah. I think sometimes Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, even Alex Cora, you gotta think of how you would answer a question if you were speaking for a franchise, which is what Sam Kennedy's doing, right? And Trevor Story is my leader. And what if even if we try, we don't get Alex Bregman? Is it wise for me, Sam Kennedy, to go in the air and say, damn straight we need a leader. We need an adult in the room because we don't have any leadership. And then everybody you try to go get says no. And then you got to go back to Trevor Story, whose agent has already sent that quote to him, the clip. So I just think that's good management. And sometimes you got, that's why we kind of kept pestering Sam. We didn't just take that as an answer. We kept going at him. And Sam handles it well. But I didn't worry too much about that, because I think, I think Sam, especially, if you listen to what he says, he is always talking for the team they have. He will never go out on a limb to talk about Bregman or anybody else. He's going to talk about who's here right now, because those are the guys I'm going to have to talk to. You bring Bregman in later, then I could say, yeah, well, we needed leadership, so we went and got him. But until you get him, I thought that, I wasn't surprised. It was, there was a couple of things we went at him about. I brought up the Manny Ramirez trade in 2000, how they overpay because they stunk, and asked if we were sort of in the same situation now. He didn't like that a whole lot. But sort of, I don't think we have to overpay. You just got to pay what it takes. And he's right about that. So no, that didn't bother me.
Yeah. The idea of kind of alienating Trevor Story, talking about how you definitely need a leader when you don't have that guy, it's very similar to when Kevin Millar said, we'll take A-Rod. Right. And it's like, oh, well, we didn't get A-Rod, and now you got Nomar pissed off. So
exactly right. And that you got to be really careful about that. I think Lou Merlone brought it up, I think on Twitter or somewhere. I read something Lou posted that, who was it? Was it Giolito who kept talking about Bregman, or who was talking about Bregman? Walker Buehler? I guess it was Buehler, right? Because they're the ones who co-own the horse.
Yes,
that sounds
right.
Yeah, and he was like, if you don't get him, all of a sudden you're going to be looking over at Rafi Devers saying, please make that play. I know I spent all winter saying we really need Alex Bregman over here. So, yeah, that's a great comparison when Millar said that. And, we all saw it again with the comeback on Netflix. Wait, I said what? Because as we all know, Kevin Millar does the mouth and the brain don't always operate at the same speed. They both operate fine, just not always at the same speed, which is why we love Kevin Millar.
So funny. He's like, yeah, no, I can see why he was mad. He still had no idea what he said.
20 years later, 20 years later, he's like, yeah, boy, I shouldn't have said that. Fine.
That was an underrated part of that Netflix doc for sure. That seeing that whole thing come to light was so funny. I think we lost Jordan for a second here.
No.
Perfect freeze frame of him.
He's got a good smile, and his microphone's in full color mode. So that's Maybe if he diverted some of the power from the LED microphone, maybe he'd
That's a good point.
Put it right into his computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the issue. It's strobing too much for his computer. But I know his follow-up question was going to be, putting some truth serum out here. He's like, I know we've been talking a lot about Bregman. Oh, he's back.
I think
he's back.
I'm back. I'm back. You hear me?
Yes. There he
Okay,
is.
cool. Yeah, I heard the shot about my take some of the power from my microphone.
I think the lights are dimming in my house from your microphone.
It is very colorful. It usually works like a charm, but this laptop has barely been used in the last 2 months. But yeah, I think Matt was starting to ask my follow-up question, but like kind of wanted to get your thoughts from a truth serum standpoint. You alluded to who are you blocking if you bring in Alex Bregman, but do you think even like in a vacuum, we're not even talking term here. Do you think it's in the best interest of this organization to, at this point, just see it through with the young guys, give the keys to Christian Campbell, bring Roman Anthony up when he's ready, or bring in Alex Bregman for whatever the term may be? Obviously, if it's a 1-year deal, I feel like everybody knows like that's the move, but that's not
right.
happen.
And each additional year makes it tougher, right? I mean, that's like if you're asking me the truth, Sarah, right? To me, it's a no-brainer on 1 year. I'm pretty sure I want him for 2 years. I think I'd take him for 3 years. I don't want him for 4 years. And that's kind of the way it goes, right? So, Ceddanne Rafaela is such a great example, right? You saw the great stretches and you saw the struggles, right? Think of Duran prior to last season, right? These young guys come up. Tristan Casas has been really good. I really like Tristan Casas, but there's been stretches where he struck out a lot, and had to work on that. Willie Abreu, year 2 was a lot better than year 1, and we've seen the improvement. So to your point, do you want Roman Anthony in center field and Christian Campbell at second base on opening day? I probably don't, even though I both think they're going to be really, really good players. Because if you can let them, what's the term, gestate a little longer in the minors, if you can get another 3 months of development out of them before springing them on, I want those guys coming up mid-season. That's because that tells me I had some pretty good players here ahead of them. Now, one of those guys is going to hit 380 at spring training, and we're all going to talk about it, right? It's going to be late March, and we're going to be crushing Alex Cora with questions about whichever one of them has put together a monster spring training. Now, how much of that was the 5th inning against number 87 on your roster from the Minnesota Twins, or some guy who's not on the roster from the Minnesota Twins? I love those spring training games because I get to call them. And so I just let's pump the brakes a little bit on rushing the kids up, because if I can start the season with more experienced guys, that to me is good. Now the best players got to be there, and so if those guys are making you make the tough decision, that's great. But I want to just take it easy on those guys, because we know there's bumps in the road for any young players, even the best young player, right? Jackson Holiday, struggled in the first go round, right? I mean, we've seen that time and time again. Very rare is the young player, the 20, 21, 22-year-old player who jumps in as major league debut and never looks back.
Yeah, not everybody's Mike Trout.
Not everybody is Mike Trout.
Yeah, I mean, it even took Bobby Witt Jr. like 2 full seasons to become a top 2 player in the game. I mean, it's just, you love this game so much, but sometimes it just doesn't love you back, and we need to allow these guys to, I agree completely with you. I don't want to rush any of these guys because I want to just see them at their best.
Right. And like I said, I think somebody's going to surprise us and make it. But, Ceddanne Rafaela surprised us, right? He jumped in and he didn't look back, but the Mookie Betts of the world, are few and far between. The Xander Bogaerts of the world, who basically jumped in and wound up winning a World Series that year.
Great.
They're few and far between. So I like Bregman coming in as sort of that veteran stopgap. If it means you got to trade away somebody mid-season and start flipping some of your positional depth to get more pitching, then you got to go do that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned in that piece there, you said like, hey, I guess this was a little bit earlier on. You're like, I'm not really as much of a minor league guy anymore. I'm focusing on the major league wins. I think it's been encouraging to hear Breslow kind of switch that terminology up. Like I think it was you and Alex Spear at the end of the season. You did a sit down with Craig Breslow at Fenway Park, if I remember correctly. And in that conversation, he talked about, I think it's the last time that we're going to have to suffer through this. It's the last time we're going to start prioritizing current wins as opposed to future wins. So I think there is some encouraging things there. And to your point, like if they have a good roster to field where they don't have to force someone to come up, it's going to be closer to the situation where Dustin Pedroia came up in 2007. He wasn't the one required to carry that team, but was able to help carry that team to a championship. Jacoby Ellsbury, same thing. In that season, Jacoby Ellsbury is still one of my favorite players, but like he didn't start that way, and he definitely wasn't putting the weight of the world on his shoulders. It wasn't until Manny Ramirez was injured that Jacoby even had to come up and start playing every day. And I think like that could be a situation that we see where you never know how injuries are going to fall out. Someone goes down, one of the young guys has to step up, and then boom, there's your second half run that you need. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. You saw, injuries last year. You're going to see injuries. They happen inevitably. And so you're going to need that depth. You're going to need those guys, but we don't need to rush. And by the way, maybe you're going to get this stuff later, but I'll just throw it right now. It's too early to make my pick to click. We always like sort of pick a player or two, and sometimes I nail it. Sometimes I am so woefully off base. So it's not like there's a track record. The one they still give me a hard at, David Ardsma, we had him, and I thought, boy, this guy's going to lead the world in saves. And a couple years later, he's really good in Seattle. So I just missed by like 2 years. Not that he was bad with us, but at any rate, Mike Karp was I thought Mike Karp was going to be an all-star outfielder.
No.
But I will say right now, okay, I will say right now that I keep bringing up the name Vaughn Grissom. Like, don't sleep on Vaughn Grissom. This guy, when Alex Cora said give him a mulligan for last year, I'm on board with that because this guy, there's some defensive questions, but at second base, I think he's going to be fine. But he has hit everywhere he has ever been, including the Atlanta Braves. And when the season ended last year, he was the youngest player on the major league roster. And it's easy to forget that. He's younger than Casas. He's younger than a lot of the prospects we're talking about. He's 22, 23 now. And I've heard nothing but glowing reports of this offseason for him, how strong he's gotten, how much time he put in to build up his strength and his fitness to get over the injuries of last year. And listen, you bring in Bregman, then it's another story, okay? But if you don't hand it to Christian Campbell just yet. I think Vaughn Grissom's going to have a lot to say about this.
I think the fact that Vaughn's already on the 40-man roster and they would have to make space for, Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, I think that gives Grissom, it's his spot to lose, I think, right off the bat. That doesn't mean that Campbell can't come in and play left field, but just thinking about the roster moves, it's basically like, hey, are you going to outperform Romy Gonzalez for that spot or Nick Sogard, right? And like, are you going to provide more value at that point?
Well, and are you going to be able to, if you're beating out Nick Sogard, how often are you going to play, right? And Christian Campbell shouldn't be on the bench in Boston. He should be playing every day in Worcester at the beginning of the season, if those are the options, right? If he's going to play every day in Boston, great. But I don't want any of these guys starting the season as the 25th man in Boston, 26th man in Boston. I'd much rather have them get a full month of play in Worcester and then see where you're at.
Absolutely.
Man, Grissom's younger 100%. Than me.
See,
that one hurt.
So see that. All right. So I'm a lot older than probably. I'm older than probably all three combined. But if you there's a turning point, okay, and I want credit for this because I bring it up every year, and every time I bring it up, people mind like, So I call it the Jamie Moyer line. There's a point in everyone's life where this is what I consider when you officially become old. Okay. It is the day the only player left in Major League Baseball, the active player who is older than you, retires. So there is a day where you wake up for the first time older than every Major League player in baseball.
Oh.
And that is, for me, it was Jamie Moyer. Jamie Moyer hung in there like 3 more years being the only guy in baseball older than me. And nobody rooted for him more than me to just keep going. Mm-hmm. And when he stopped, and I brought it because last year when Rich Hill came back out of retirement, he was 2.5 years older than I think Verlander, who was the oldest player in baseball when Hill wasn't there.
Yeah.
So like 2.5 years worth of people. And Will Middlebrooks is one of them, right? Will Middlebrooks had become older than everybody in baseball. or it was Papelbon. I think Will Middlebrooks is too young still. I think it was whoever it was. There was somebody on our show, one of our analysts, who maybe it was Lenny DiNardo. I think it actually was Lenny DiNardo, who was now older than everybody in baseball. But then Rich Hill came back, and Rich Hill's older than him, so now he was back under the line. So go Rich Hill.
Got to be Lenny because everybody else.
Lenny. Will's younger than half the guys in baseball.
Yeah, Will's only a little bit older than me. I think he's like 36 or something like that. Young. Yeah, he's still pretty young.
Yeah.
I want to give Bayleigh an opportunity to ask a question. I think he'll be able to play off of this next one here. But you just talked about Rich Hill. I actually did have a question in regards to the booth for 2025 with NESN. I know there's been some changing of the cast of characters that are going to be calling games and doing pre and post. But I was curious if you were able to give us any insights, if there's going to be any new names joining the NESN crew that maybe weren't on the team previously. I know I had heard Rich Hill's name tossed out there, but then I saw today that maybe he still wants to pitch. So,
He's
I don't know.
To keep me young.
Yeah, there you go. Right? Yeah, keep you young. You got a ways to go. You got more people. I'm not at liberty to tell you any of this. This is like asking Alex Cora about Bregman. Until they are announced, I can't really say anything. I think it's going to be an exciting group. A lot of the people that we've had over the last couple of years will be back. There'll be some. It's funny you talk about Rich Hill, and I know Rich is real interested in broadcasting. I've talked to him a lot about it. I think he will do games after he retires, but I think to your point, I don't think he's ready to retire. I remember talking to Brock Holt, who's now co-chairman of the Jimmy Fund with me, and he's not a broadcaster, but for a long time I thought he was going to be a broadcaster, and he might still be someday. I think right now he just wants to be around the family because you're not around the family, right? And Griff is playing Little League, and he wants to be around for him and Ripken. But I remember telling him, like, dude, but even if you want to be an announcer, like every extra year as a baseball player is, 10 years of announcer salary. All right, so don't rush. Okay, don't that TV money will be there on the back end. Don't you worry about that. Okay, but we ain't paying you. Yeah, what's the minimum this year? $700 and something thousand. Play another year, man. Play another year, even if it's at minimum. Yeah. So that's nice. My advice to Rich Hill, man. Keep pitching because NESN ain't paying you that. I promise you that. Whatever the 2 point whatever you're gonna get next year, I ain't getting that. So go pitch. But that's honestly, those things, like, we're not done yet. I know that. I was just in a meeting today still, because it's really a jigsaw puzzle, right? It's not just who's going to do them. It's how many games, how do you fit them in? You can't bring someone in just to bring them in. You can't give them 2 games. So if you bring someone in now who's not doing 20 games because this person's doing 20 games. So that I think they know who's going to do it. But I think until the schedule is put together, you don't know. Somebody might say, hey, to hell with you. I only got 12 games. I'm going to go do MLB Network or ESPN or whatever, find something else if I can. So that's it. I'm not playing coy with you. I don't think anything's done yet officially. So until it's all done, I can't say. I'm back. I tell you that.
That's good.
That's breaking news. August will be my 30th year, my 30th anniversary in NESN. How about that?
Congrats to you. That's incredible.
Thank you. That's like awesome. 210 in dog years.
I'm glad you had that already pre-calculated there, because I would have taken me a few minutes to try to figure that out. But no, I appreciate the insight there that the booth still or the crew's still coming together. I think that you guys did a great job of mixing in different personalities last year. It was very cool.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, listen, we had Jerry Remy doing them all for so long, right? And it's you can't replace Jerry. And we were lucky enough and fortunate enough to have Dennis Eckersley with Jerry, at Jerry's last seasons, and then kind of being the primary guy after Jerry. And so all of a sudden it was a whole new concept, right? Where you had to have multiple guys. And I think Kevin Youkilis did a really good job. I think Lou Merloni, is the closest thing to Jerry Remy that we have now, the local guy who grew up, caring about this stuff and then got to wear the uniform, which is insane, right? Anybody who grew up in Massachusetts and got to play for the Red Sox is in a special place because he understands it both as a fan and as a player, both sides of the pressure cooker, right? So I think Lou is great. I think Will is a budding superstar. Will does some things that most analysts can't do. A lot of analysts are the old school, get off my yard. I don't want to, I don't want to hear anything about analytics. And some players, just throw a lot of stats out there, but Will actually kind of approaches the game with analytical information, but can, use it to explain what a player's thinking, right? Because as a player, he used analytics to make himself a better player. And that's refreshing. It's very different. Love working with him. Kevin Millard does what Kevin Millard does. He's just going to swoop in off the top rope and jump in and do a few games and bring some laughs and bring some energy. Pap's the same way. Pap Abon in our studio. Our studio group is great. Jim Rice, I think, has just grown so much as a broadcaster in the 20 plus years I've been with him now. At the beginning, he didn't want to say a lot, and I'm not sure he even wanted to be on TV, and now I love giving him crap that he's been a broadcaster longer than he's been a player, which he hates because, that means he's officially part of the media, and he hates it when I tell him he's part of the media. But I think really, if you listen to Jim, he's very old school. There's no doubt about it. He ain't throwing any, WOBA plus out there anytime soon. Okay. But he can bring in the mind of a player, even if it's a different terminology, even if he's using a lot of terms and approaches from his day. I can ask him, what's going through your mind with a guy on third and 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth? And he'll be able to give you a damn good answer, unlike most of the people out there on TV. So I think Jim's great. Lenny breaks down pitching with the mind of a scientist. He talks about pronating and about the finger pressure. And I'm just like, yeah, you go, man. I don't know. Pap is a nut job. Will's great with me. It's a really good group. I really like our group. We have a lot of fun together, and I think we do a pretty good job of breaking down games. So that's all you hope for.
Definitely. I think Monaco's been doing a great job too whenever he fills in.
Mike's great. God, he's in Australia right now doing tennis, for God's sake. He's been there for 3 weeks, and he's posting. It was 4 a.m. in Australia, and he's watching the damn Notre Dame game because he's a Notre Dame guy, and I should have just gone to bed instead of watching that. But just think about that. Dave O'Brien's world class, right? This guy has done World Series for ESPN and done everything. He's the voice of the World Cup in soccer one year, back in the day, and he was doing Cooper Flag. Speaking of Maine, Cooper Flag and Duke against BC the other night. So Dave does everything.
Wait, Cooper Flag is from Maine?
You haven't heard? Yeah.
No, I'm just
first, second most, just behind me. He's rapidly catching up with me as the most famous person from Maine. We've got David Gray, and then you got Mike Monaco, local guy who loves the Red Sox and is, I think probably the fastest rising play-by-play star in the country right now. So we're just super fortunate to have the group we have.
Yeah, NESN, I feel like it's starting to become like a springboard because I see people like I'll see Heidi Watney pop up from time to time, Tina Servasio, all the people from NESN
Listen,
Tina Servasio was my first crush. I will shamelessly put that out there.
Tina's great. I love Tina.
I've heard it wasn't me, Jordan, but that's fine. If you look at all the people who came and worked with me and went on to be famous, it's a little disheartening because I'm still here, and it's Tina Servasio, Hazel May is a superstar in Canada. Heidi Watney does the Apple games now after doing a lot of MLB Network for a long time. Jenny Dell is on the sideline of the biggest college football games in the world. Gary Streisky is doing ESPN stuff. Ken Maka went on to be a manager of 2 different teams after he left me. He was with me for a while. Gary DiSarcina was the third base coach of the Mets for Peter Gammons was with me for a while. Maybe he'll become something someday. It is crazy how they all just, slide on through and move on to the bigger and better things. I scare them. They want out of that NESN booth so fast after working with me that they leave and get jobs. So good for them. You want a job, Jordan? Come sit with me for a week.
Hey, I'm more than willing to do that. But I think the alternative way to look at that is you just make your teammates better. You're like the LeBron James of NESN.
Let's go with that. I'll go with that. LeBron James of NESN. I don't know if I am going to go with that, actually.
The Tom Brady of NESN. There we go.
There you go. I'll take that. Take
Yeah,
that. I'll take his broadcasting money. See, I said you can't make any money broadcasting. He's doing all right.
Yeah, it sure is.
Between us, we make 37 point something million dollars.
Between us, TC, I think I'd rather listen to you call those. Definitely, rather listen to you call those games than Tom call those games.
Well, we're very similar. Yeah, he's part owner of the Las Vegas team. I'm part owner of the Portland soccer team. So we're both broadcasters. There are a lot of similarities. There's no doubt. It was a long time ago. Long time. Remember Fever Pitch? So Fever Pitch, they had, instead of the red carpet in Hollywood, they had the red carpet at Fenway.
Yeah.
And I think it was Hazel May and I co-hosted the live, red carpet premiere of Fever Pitch. And this whole, I don't even, what year was that? 05?
I think 05.
Yeah, because they retaped the end at 04. That was when they won. So it was 05. Tom Brady, it was a couple Super Bowls in now, but he's not TB12 yet, right? He's still Tom Brady QB1. And so I got him on the red carpet live. And I did this thing. It was great. We like, let's turn around and get the people. And the place goes nuts, right? They're just screaming. So we turn back around to the cameras. And I was like, all right, let's try something. Tom, you turn to the camera, to the crowd. He turns the crowd and the place goes bonkers. And there's like, all right, this time don't turn. I turn and it's crickets chirping. Like, I mean, nobody even claps. Like they're waiting to see if Brady will turn. And that's, so that's Tom Brady.
Did you ever give Uke any crap for being related?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Of course. And Uke's great. Uke's like, wait, no. To be clear, I'm not Tom Brady's brother-in-law. He is my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really funny, right? Like if you like when he won a Super Bowl with Tampa, they shoot up to the family box and there's Uke like 3 from the right. There's a family shots on the field after Super Bowls and Uke, and he always tries to sort of duck over to the side. He knows but it's just funny because it's Uke. I was in Vegas like a year ago, and I'm texting Uke about something. It was the off season. It was about a year ago, and come to find out, like he was down the street, the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami. Well, they opened one in Vegas, and it was like the biggest star-studded thing ever. And he's there with Tom, and I'm like with literally a guy who lines parking lots for a living, and a buddy who's an accountant. We're like there at Vegas. It's like 2 very different experiences of Vegas. It's all right. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Bayleigh, what you wanted
to... Go ahead, Bayleigh. What do you got?
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, so of course we talked about your work with the Jimmy Fund. You're now the co-chair with Brock Holt. I've just been interested to know how that's going. What an amazing honor that's been. So like, what have you and Brock really been, doing for all of that? I'm very interested.
It's a good question. So you're really saying like, I haven't seen anything. What the hell are you doing in this job? Well, first of all, Jordan well knows the importance of the Jimmy Fund and what it means, and so. I've been involved so long with so many telethons over the years, 21 of them now. And Brock was so, took it so seriously as a team captain. A lot of them take it seriously. He took it to another level, right? If you remember, I brought a duck boat full of kids on the parade. And so last year, they hadn't replaced Larry Lucchino after he passed away. And he had been the chairman for a long time. There's only been 4 chairmen prior to us. And so they approached Brock with the idea of Brock's living in Nashville and couldn't be up here all the time. So, the idea came out, well, what if it was someone else? And they came to me because Brock and I have known each other for a long time. It's a long build up to just say it's been amazing. A few weeks back, he and I were over there visiting kids at the Jimmy Fund Clinic, then over visiting adults. And we got an event coming up a week from Saturday, the PMC Winter Challenge, which is a bunch of stationary bikes, like Peloton bikes at Fenway, which is pretty cool. And then we've got a special thing coming up at spring training. I don't want to give too much away, but every year, Jordan, did you ever get to go on the teen trip down there, or were you already done treatment and everything by then?
The teen trip, no, I never got to go down there for that, but.
It's an amazing trip, right? So you think how hard it is, like to be a teenager, period. Like if you're a healthy teenager, life is tough enough. Imagine being a teen who's fighting cancer. So every year, Lisa Scherber brings down as many who can make it. And you're talking about, 40, 50, 60 teenage cancer patients who go spend a weekend in Florida with other teenage cancer patients. Finally, someone they can talk to about what they're going through without being the kid with cancer, right? Just another kid to these teenagers. And they spend a day at the pool, swimming at the hotel. And then on Sunday, they end up at JetBlue, and all the players come out before the game. It's incredible. So cool. There's not a dry eye in the house. Well, the kids never cry. The kids are always great. The kids, I remember, one year, what a girl was trying to tell Kevin Youkilis what was wrong with his swing. It was the greatest thing. It was not even Brock. I don't remember, but one of them. And so anyway, this year we're going to do something different. Throughout the entire broadcast that day, we're going to highlight the Jimmy Fund, kind of like we have with the Red Sox Foundation in the past. So that's really cool. They're having a big celebration. I can't give away too much about that, but that's in March, and we're going to do our pregame, postgame show live from that. So that's really awesome. Like my role and Brock's role, we're kind of the lead advocate, the top cheerleaders for the Jimmy Fund. It's just to get the word out, to publicize as much as we can. We're going to have a golf tournament and stuff like that. So he and I have come up with some new ideas that they're incorporating, trying to come up with this little home run derby idea at Fenway Park where anybody for a certain amount of money can go to Fenway and try to hit one over the wall. And how much would that raise, right? And how cool would that be for everybody to do? So amazing. Just some new ideas, some new energy, and it's gone really well so far. I'm so humbled to be part of it because it is the most amazing place. I was briefly, nothing like what Jordan went through, but I was briefly a cancer patient. I went there. I had a mass. They had removed it, and luckily they got it when they removed it, and there was no further treatment. I never needed any kind of treatment after that. But you walk in there, and it's a scary moment. When somebody tells you got cancer, it's you go through a little bit of a spiral there, and they're so good at holding you by the hand and helping you through that I'll do anything they ever need.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for doing that. That's just incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's incredible work that they've been doing. Obviously. Jordan can attest to that.
For sure. I literally owe my life to them. Like, it's crazy. Incredible. Like, looking back, like, people ask me questions about my treatment, and like, it's kind of, it's nice to not really remember so much of it, but like, that also speaks to how good of a job they do that you don't even really realize, like, kind of what you're going through because you're around so many people that are experiencing the same things. They do a great job of making you kind of feel like you're, they have arts and crafts, they have games, they have events, they have talent shows that I would always be like bellowing the national anthem and God Bless the USA around the hospital. That's actually how I got to sing the anthem at Fenway when I was 4 in the first place. And then eventually in Fever Pitch, Subtle Flex. But yeah, I owe my life to them. So again, thank you so much for all the work you do with them as well, TC.
Of course. Yeah, it's amazing, right? I mean, and like you said, you hear stories every year of kids who, they're done their treatments, right? They've come out the other side, and the kids will break down in tears because they don't get to go back anymore, and they don't get to see their friends anymore. They don't get to see the nurses they love anymore. But I'll tell you what, Jordan, I'm sure you've had these conversations. Your parents remember, I promise you that. They do such an amazing job helping the family through it. That's always the helpless, right? You see a 3 or 4 kid-year-old battling cancer, a 3 or 4-year-old kid. And, as tough as it is, it's the parents who are having, sleepless nights and trying to figure out how they're going to survive this. And that's the amazing thing about the place is it's complete care, not just for the patient, for the family, for everybody around them. They're truly amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, probably nearly impossible to transition from that. I do want to talk about a traumatic experience of yours, TC. I'm going to actually play a clip here first, and then I just kind of want to talk about this a little bit here. So I'm gonna roll the clip, and then we'll come back here in about a minute.
Down to the pitcher. Oh, we got a cat. There's a cat loose on the diamond. Up on the netting. And gone right after TC. Oh, still after TC. Come on, TC. TC, that is one Wildcat. You okay down there?
All right, guys, I'm reporting from the scene of the action here. Yeah, we've got a cat that almost found its way into my hair, which would have been bad. It seems to have found its way back up to the concourse. I think it went to get a beer before they close off last call here, guys. We're good.
I'm just happy that the lid is okay. It's going to be ball 4. Let's take a look at the replay. Now, this was a scary moment for Tom Caron because it came right at TC.
Oh, look at TC. Ah! Come on, TC.
Tom Caron running for his life or for his head of hair.
TC's acting like that was a lion coming at him. It's a house cat, TC. It's a house cat.
Ordinary house cat. Jeez.
Haven't you ever seen The Lion King? Simba was just a little cat at the beginning, okay? And before you know it, these things are ferocious beasts.
Ferocious.
Oh, you put you up to that. I'm guaranteeing it. You will not let me forget that moment. And it was whatever. I'm not proud of myself. All right. That thing was on like the front page of that night's Fox MLB, plays of the day. The New York Post ran a recap.
That's
it was
great.
insane. Yep. And I mean, it literally, I'm like going to look up where this cat is running, and the thing just lunges at. First of all, I'm not a cat guy. Okay, I'm a dog guy. Okay, and cats kind of freak me out because I always think they've got an agenda, they've got a plan going. They're just, they're outthinking me. I don't like it. I don't like cats. I'm sorry. Get mad at me if you will. I'm just not a cat guy. And this thing lunged at me. And again, as the broadcast kept going on, like, Kevin, we just got a report. Its name is Fluffy, and it came from the apartment building next door.
God.
But when it lunged at me, I saw terror. I saw, again, Mufasa. It was evil. It was pure evil. Okay, so.
Well, it did make its way into
laugh now, but you haven't walked in my shoes with a cat lunging at your face. And my hair, which takes, you can see it now, like it's not put together. And then this hairspray up there, I was afraid it would get caught like a bat. A lot of things can happen. So,
see, I can relate to that. We had a bat in our camper once as a kid when we were camping in New Hampshire.
You're from Maine. And these things happen.
Yeah. So I mean, like, listen, I can understand the fear there and the terrifyingness. I will say, like, kudos to you. Now that incident has made its way to your Wikipedia page. It's actually under your career highlights.
Thank you.
When you scroll through it. So
that'll be like when I have my 30th anniversary in August at NESN, that'll be like the one thing they show. They'll be like, let's look back at
your whole career,
a highlight reel, and it'll just be the cat incident. They still bring it out. Somebody has it. EVS is what we call like where the highlights live, right? It's the EVS machine, and they've got it there. Like at any given moment, when all else fails, they're bored. They'll just ring that up and show me because they got nothing better to do.
Well, the only thing that's taken a little bit more of a front seat to that now is Jemai getting hit by foul balls when he's on the sidelines there. At least,
I mean,
that's taking a little.
Didn't go to the doctor after the cat lunged at me. He saw. I believe he saw doctors in 2 different cities. I believe that was in New York, and then he got looked at again the next day wherever they were. But it was 104.9 off the bat or something.
Yeah, I was going to say,
keep your head on a swivel. I mean, put your phone down, Jemai. Watch the game. I've never been hit. Not a lot of sideline reporting. I've never been hit by a ball. I did almost get crushed last year. It was really close. But
I was going to say,
it's scary down there. The camera. Once, a couple of years ago, I was doing sidelines, and the camera operator was right behind me. And it's not like I was shielding him or anything, but I saw the ball screaming in, and I dove, and he broke his nose. Like, it caught him square in the face. No. And I don't know if maybe he couldn't see because I was there diving away at the last minute. But I wasn't taking it, man. He can still operate a camera with a broken nose. I'm out of commission for 6 weeks.
It's true.
Yeah, the money's hard enough to come by. Yeah. That's fantastic. I know that obviously this past year you started the 310 to Left podcast with Alex Spear, and then obviously that's continued throughout the off season and through the season with different co-hosts as well. What's been, I guess, like the biggest difference for you, or is there even a difference between what you do on pre and post game, or sideline reporting, or then transitioning into like a podcast setting? Like, is it any different to you?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are like, you're a podcast. It's like we're kind of a podcast. I mean, we get guests and do long form interviews, which I love to do. To me, what like 310 to Left is a natural progression from the My Stories that we used to do that we don't do anymore. It was like a half hour on one play. I used to do most of those interviews for the Red Sox. I did most of My Stories, and I love because I love long form interviews. Like I love like what we're doing now. Like you just can kind of dig into somebody and get them talking about what they do and how they do it and why they do it. And I love that. So I like that. I don't know, again, like you got like, I don't know. I feel we need to make it more of a podcast. I don't know what that means. We gotta have some zany like third person doing weird stuff. I don't know. We're gonna tweak it a little bit this year. It's still very much in the building stage, but we're gonna try to be more podcasty this year around the interview. All right, that's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to it. I know you're Tyler Milliken's.
Like the name?
I was going to say you're Tyler Milliken's favorite podcast.
I know,
apparently.
Which is great. Yeah, we got him on the program. Which is great because that's a podcast. So when he does, that's like, it's like Alex Cooper saying she likes me or something. That's like
the dream.
We don't. Yeah, she was on the show last year, and I was like, oh my god, like my wife doesn't watch our show anymore, and she's like, was Alex Cooper on your show? I was like, why? How do you know? Because my cousin's daughters in New Jersey just texted her that she posted her. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. But
it's a big deal.
So it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. So yeah, Tyler Milliken's a great fan. We love him for that. But I 310 to Left. Do you like the name?
Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
See, I hated it at the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never fought against something as hard as I fought against the name 310 to Left.
Were there any like?
Because I thought it was kind of generic. That's all. You know what I mean? And now I love it. I actually think it's pretty cool. So I was wrong.
Were there any names that almost made the cut that like didn't quite make it there?
Well, the name, am I speaking out of school? Should I not be? The name, Alex Spear and I really wanted to call it Educated Cheese in honor of Dennis Eckersley.
That would have been
nice.
Really wanted that. And they looked at us like we had 9 eyes because, it was a couple, like we had new management and they're like, what are you even talking about? We want something that sounds really like Red Sox. Okay, what do you got? Educated Cheese. What?
They're like, what?
But we really fought on that hill and lost. And in the end, it was probably for the best. The management knew what they were doing. 310 to Left's a good name.
If you ever start a MLB podcast that's not as much focused on the Red Sox, then there you go. Like that's
right.
That'd be a phenomenal name.
Right.
I do think 310 to Left fits your Red Sox theme a lot closer. So it ties it right in.
Yeah. Like I said, they're smart. I'm not.
You guys have actually, well, at least you have been a part of the Section 10 podcast now for a little bit as a voter on
the
Clark's Catch Up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Catch Up.
How has that experience kind of been? And do you think like getting involved with like getting to know Jared even better, like throughout the last couple of years and stuff, like has that allowed you to really delve into like different aspects of the Red Sox Twitter sphere and things like that? And I guess like, is that a good thing or a bad? Like,
well, I mean, Twitter's Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I mean, I had, I don't know, a couple years back, I had, let's see, I think the first real beef I had was the Jim Murray one from 98.5 when I said, I used the words be better because it was 2020. Anyway, there's a long story behind it. I was upset that he came on the air and said he hadn't watched. Red Sox played their first game out of the pandemic, right, in July of 2020. It was the first of the major teams in Boston playing a game, right, that everybody else had shut down. And I don't care what you think about the Red Sox. I think the first sporting event with no fans there, just a very, like I thought you had to watch that and sort of report on it. And he did a whole thing about how he went out to dinner and didn't watch it. And so I went on Twitter and said, you should do that, but he used the words be better. And it was just, the avalanche. He's a really popular radio host, and he's got a lot of loyal fans, and he should. I like Jim Murray. I think he's really funny. I think he does a great job with Felger Maz. But I just, so we just went at it. And that was it. But then the 21, I had a really good beef going with Dan Shaughnessy for a while, where he
was that the screenshot year with
and again I just said, why do I bother? But I just they lost game 1 and Dan said, last place, right where we knew they'd all be, and then they moved, I don't know, it was the All-Star break and they were in the wild card spot, and so I did, it might have been before that, I don't know.
No, but that was more recent, actually. That was 20. That was 23.
Oh, it wasn't 21. I thought it was when they made the playoffs. That was 23. You're right. It was 23 because then they faded at the end. And he was right. And they were last play. When it was all said and done, he was right. But early on, remember they went on that tear, they were winning all these games. I was like, maybe day 1 was a little early for you to wrap up the season. And he threw something to me about sucking up to ownership, and it really became like that's where the TC Army T-shirt came out of it that they did a great job with, and it just became a thing that I don't need that. 2 hours later I was like, I'm over it. The thing lasted for 2 months, and the next day I'm like, I'm done with this. But it's funny because people, it's all part of it. I love Dan Shaughnessy. He's great. He's great at what he does. I know a lot of people hate him because of what he does, but I think he's great at what he does.
Yeah.
And you can hate what he does, but still admit he's great at what he does. So I just, but people take it so seriously. I saw him. The tradition is the sports museum event IMC every year. And I think it was 2 years ago, last year, whatever. We were there, and it was the first time my wife had seen Dan Shaughnessy since all that. And he's like, oh, hey, Kelly, it's all in good fun, huh? She's like, yeah. It's pretty funny. But, so Twitter's Twitter. It has been, but anything Jared touches turns to gold, right? So, if you get the, like that, we were talking about that Cinco Ocho show at Winter Weekend 2 years ago, and that Jared afterwards tweeted, my only thought of tonight is whatever, but pray for Tom Caron or something like that. And that that seen by 180,000 people and 10 million likes, and so I've been on the podcast a couple of times now as a guest. I help with the Clark's catch up, and then of course I've been with him on the Unobstructed Views broadcast, which is he does a great job of that, and it's a different. I'm warming up to it. I didn't really love the idea at the beginning, not because of Jay. The whole altcast thing. I'm old. I get it. It's a generational thing, but I still have trouble watching people watch a game. Okay,
yeah.
I'm much more interested in watching
the game.
Hey, so that's me. Okay, so I went on it as a co-host, and it was the first time, excuse me, that they'd asked me to co-host. And I get a text in the first commercial break from the producer who says, management would like you to A, stop saying you hate the idea, B, stop saying the only reason you're doing it tonight is because you get out an hour early, and C, that you'll never do it again. all of which I did, all of which I said in the first 5 minutes of the show. I didn't really, he's like, what do you think of the show? I was like, I don't watch it. I don't like these things. And so why are you doing it? Because I don't have to do post-game show. I get to go home an hour early. That sounds good to me. But then I got to do it again with him and Katie Nolan, and it was great. And it's really fun. Jared is the dream come true for any Red Sox fan. He has just made a career out of being a fan. And it's amazing. But he has done a great job. When he tweets stuff about Bregman, he knows what he's talking about. So don't dismiss him as just a fan, because he's a connected fan who really has built a platform that people in other sports emulate, people in other teams emulate, right? I mean, you'll have other teams' Twitters, dropping a Clark's catch-up reference, right? Or MLB. Remember when he's doing the Phoenix Suns podcast because they're so bad, and MLB dropping Suns out, guns out, thing. And So it's been fun watching it. This is a true story. Okay, I'm sorry I ramble on these answers. I know you
Love it.
You're great.
but this is like years ago, like 2005, 2004. We were being edgy on the post game show. We were taking email questions, right? Like that was as close as you could. And I remember at one point saying, "We can't have a question from this Carabas guy every night. Like, get somebody," because he was just flooding us with questions. He was whatever he was, 14-year-old Jared Carabas on his MySpace page, watching the game and just hammering us with questions. And I just remember that, like, and we have different producers. Like I do every game, but we might have 3 different producers rotate through, so they don't know that Jared Carabas had a question last night or the night before because another producer was doing it. And I'm like, we get the same damn guy every night. But little did I know it was Jared Carabas, and we should have used him every night.
Mm-hmm.
And now we do.
Well, I just wanted to thank you because it seems like because of like this embracing of the like Red Sox fan base there, and last season we had you guys mentioned Sean Palmer and his graphic designs of the jersey swaps on broadcast. Yeah. Like we saw a lot of Tyler Layton, who does the Sox signs, all this, like the sign guy. He was featured quite a lot and mentioned as well. So
I mean, you brought him up at Fenway Fest to Breslow about the sign.
Right.
That was Tyler. Yeah,
it was amazing. It was great. By the way, it was a great moment. Like he was holding up the sign, right? I said, "Make an offer to Bregman."
Yeah.
And like I introduced the whole team, right? Everybody's out on stage, and a couple of players are taking pictures of the sign, and they're texting it to Bregman. Like these are guys who obviously know Bregman. And so it's really pretty funny watching those guys like, "I'll take a picture of him with the sign." But I think it's great because that's like, I'm old, but I'm not a purist. I like change. I like things evolving. And I really think baseball was so slow to embrace the younger generation of fans, of players, of broadcasters, of everything, right? The let the kids play took way too long to become a thing. And now it is just reality, right? You can flip a bat, you can pose, you can do things that other sports do, and it's okay. It's okay. It's not an insult to the game. You're not spitting on the grave of Honus Wagner. And now these fans who have a little platform can build it into a bigger platform by doing something unique. Be creative, be unique. I mentioned, the T-shirts before. We got some people who do great. Surviving Grady, Red is the best. Red. And I've been like a fan of his forever. And he does really funny stuff. And Jordan, obviously, you've been part of this as well, right? With the T-shirts and stuff. And watching what they've done with the Section 10 stuff, watching the Palmer design stuff, it's just really cool. And there's no I'm not a big fan of just grabbing a fan's tweet. Shows do that. I think that's a tail wagging the dog. You don't need to show what every fan is thinking on Twitter. You just go on Twitter and read that. But when somebody creates a unique space, a unique idea, they build a brand with it, then that's cool. And why not amplify that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And God, we got an hour before and after every game, and then like 3 hours when it rains. So we got time to do it.
So much time. I actually had a so you were talking about Jared, and one of the things that he just did is he actually went to McCoy Stadium before they're going to knock it down.
Yet, but I saw the clips and stuff.
So moving. It's straight. Yeah. I went there like every summer as a kid. So when they moved to Worcester, I was really upset. Now we know that it's going to get demoed. So I know you worked there for a little bit while doing play-by-play for the Paw Sox. So I just want to know what your attachment is to McCoy Stadium.
Yeah, and I not a ton. Like we used to do maybe 8-10 games a year that I'd get to go do. But like I remember taking my son there for his birthday party, bringing 12, 20 people, whatever, down there for a birthday party. They did a great job. Great people. I remember Ben Mondor and just standing there in his little suite on the field and go to talk and people fishing for signing autographs with the milk bottles and awesome. Baseballs. It's just, it was a really cool old school minor league experience. And I just, it was so sad to see it as dilapidated as it is. If you're going to tear it down. Yeah. Don't just leave it in disrepair because it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had
definitely
one more. Oh, sorry. I had one more
No, go for it.
baseball related question pertaining to the offseason, because it's become a huge topic of conversation every time the Dodgers sign somebody. This is the reason baseball needs a salary cap, yada yada yada. Why even have the 2025 season at this point? I'm curious what your take is on the Dodgers offseason. Are you among the people who think that this is proof that there needs to be a salary cap, or why do you think that every single player and their brother is signing with the Dodgers this offseason?
Well, because it's a super team, right? Every player wants to go to a place that has a better chance of winning. It's LA. There's a reason Mookie Betts went out there and said, "I'm not going to sign an extension," and then went off on the owner's boat in the Pacific and hung out and shot hoops with Magic Johnson and signed an extension. So there's always been an advantage by being out there. But now, I think two things need to be addressed, and there's 2 years left before the next collective bargaining agreement. One of them is deferred salaries. I think there ought to be some kind of framework, and it all starts with Ohtani, right? You had Mookie Betts, you had to sue. Once you got Ohtani, everything else followed. And you got Ohtani because he was willing to put $67 million 10 years down the road. And to me, that's a little scary. I don't think the Dodgers are going to go bankrupt anytime soon, okay? But what if a small market team did that? What if a small market team said, we're going to pay $75 million, but we'll pay $70 million of it 10 years from now? First of all, the player would say, yeah, whatever, that's not happening. But if you tried to do that, who's to say that small market team could afford that money 10 years down the road, right? You're going to have a balloon payment, you're going to have trouble. It's not good for the financial reality of the sport. So I think the deferred payment stuff has to be addressed in the next CBA. I think there should be a salary cap. I know players hate me for that. No player wants that. But I think a salary cap and a salary floor, so these small market teams have to pay more for their players. The problem is, right, that helps the rank and file. It doesn't help the superstars, right? The superstars want there to be no salary cap because they get more money. The rank and file guys are having trouble getting much for raises and free agency. The guys, the glue guys, the 6-year guys who are making $3 million a year, they need a floor that went along with the salary cap, but a cap would have to have a floor with it. That would help them. I think there's going to be a real fight over it next time. I think the salary cap thing. I saw MLB trade rumors did a thing last week, and asking fans if they'd want a salary cap. It was overwhelmingly yes. But there's a reason they're in every sport. It works. But Tony Clark has made it clear that the players are going to fight to the death to keep a salary cap from happening. So there could be, we could have another work stoppage in 2 years.
Hope not.
I think the latest question though, TC, is: are you going to be taking a job with the Dodgers with deferred payments on your salary?
Yes. No, that's too far from Maine. Can't do that.
Well,
but really, do I look like Hollywood to you? Come on.
I'm over there right now, and I love it. So.
Are you?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, but I don't like the Dodgers. Don't worry, I'll never change.
Yeah, I don't think the Dodgers are bad for baseball. I think the framework baseball has created is bad for baseball. So clean it up. That's all. But make a salary cap. The Michael Felger cap is crap theory. Like make a cap that has the Larry Bird exemption, as we talk about the NBA. Ways that players can stay with the team and make more money because you get rewarded. Make loopholes, do everything you got to do, but start to get something in place that creates a slightly more equal playing field. That's all.
Yeah,
and I think even if they,
right. Yeah, it's like you can't hate them for doing it. You're
just
slightly jealous of it. I'm slightly jealous.
Yeah, slightly. I'm jealous.
I'm full-fledged jealous.
Yeah, just out and out jealous.
I just love the discourse of like, oh, they got Tanner Scott, so that means they're definitely not signing Kirby Yates now. And then they're like, oh no, we got Kirby Yates too. It's like,
problem. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even gonna throw out another reliever because I don't want that. I don't want to manifest the Dodgers signing another one.
Yeah. Wait for Maloney to put him up as his Twitter avatar, and then
seriously, we're back to is Ryan Brazier the answer in the Red Sox bullpen in the mid to late innings because the Dodgers got to offload someone. So
right.
Welcome
Right.
back.
Bring him back.
Bring him back. He's got a cutter now. Bring him back.
That changed
Listen,
everything.
once they got rid of Dave Bush from committing war crimes against our bullpen, I think then I think we were, we've been making progress.
Dave
but-
Bush married a Maine woman and spends a lot of time in Maine, so be careful.
Oh,
He's a good guy.
If I ever run into him, I'll have to I'll have to change
He
that
is-
tune.
Right now, he is probably 3 miles from me.
oh,
As
wow.
we,
Wow. Okay. Well, let's call him up
yeah,
right now. Get him on that. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, he's he's in Texas now. I saw him last year. Good dude.
Yep.
I mean, really is a good dude. And whatever. Just different guys, different voices for different teams at different times. That's all. Andrew Bailey's done a really good job. We know that. I just hope he doesn't try to tell Aroldis Chapman not to throw his 103-mile-an-hour
Wow.
fastballs because we don't throw fastballs anymore. I mean, let's.
Yeah, when you have one that
I
good, throw
I
it.
asked him about
Right.
that actually.
Yeah,
I,
we've talked
saw
about, we've
him
joked
at-
about that, like crochet, and you're gonna throw fastballs. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was gonna say at Fenway Fest, I actually ran into him in the hallway, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta ask you, Crochet's fastball, is he gonna be still throwing that? I just want to make sure." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, he's still gonna be throwing that fastball."
Yeah, when it's that good. Yeah. Very excited.
You've been very generous with your time, TC. I appreciate you for coming on, and I've got two quick little fun ending questions for you. They're themed around us Mainers. Okay, so they're going to be two rank these questions. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the category, and I'm going to give you 4 things, and you're going to rank them. Number 1 being what you like the most or recommend the most, all the way down to what you dislike the most. Okay, so we're going to start with New England coffee chains.
Oh.
All right. So these are the 4: Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Aroma Joe's, and Tim Hortons.
See, now this, it's funny. If I'll give away a little behind the curtain. Before I came on, you asked me if there was anything you didn't want me to have you ask, and I said no. We can talk about anything. I would have asked you not to ask me my favorite coffee. I mean, these are sponsors we're talking about here. So I will say very carefully that Dunkin' Donuts is number 1. I will say that Aroma Joe's. All right, so now that I've taken care of our sponsorship agreement, Aroma Joe's, I am a huge Aroma Joe's guy. I think they're out of Maine originally, right? But they're all over Massachusetts now.
There's some in Florida now too.
What's that?
There's some in Florida now too, I hear. Yeah.
That's always a good way to tell where we have spread. We're like a virus, Bostonians. Like I used to go to Aruba like 30 years ago, and there's 1 Dunkin' Donuts. Now there's like 9, which is a surefire sign that Bostonians are going to Aruba, right? That's like we start spreading, Dunkin' Donuts start popping up in our wake, and that's the way we are. So Dunk's number 1, Aroma Joe's number 2. Who was the other one you threw besides Starbucks? What was the other one?
Tim Hortons.
Oh, see, now I used to do a lot of hockey, and I am a Tim Hortons guy. Good coffee there. And good Canadian boys, running it. And a Timbits. If you had Tim Hortons, the sour cream Timbits is their version of the Munchkin. Oh, so take a year off your life, but man, are they good. And Starbucks number 4. You got to rail.
All right, I know that.
America, so
I was going to say I totally didn't even think about the fact that corporate ties there. So I was going to preface that by saying not a sponsor for any of those here.
There you go. That's my favorite furniture stores next. I mean, where are we going next? That's what I got.
Actually, we're going grocery stores. No, just kidding. But actually, the next one is ranking these popular Maine tourist attractions, right? But this is from the perspective of someone who lives in Maine. I'm curious how you would rank these.
This is like where I would advise you to go.
Yeah, well, let's just say you're Googling where to go in Maine, right? You're showing up for the first time. These are going to be in the top 5 places to go.
But am I telling you my favorite place, or am I telling you what I would tell someone they have to go to?
I'm going to give you the four things. I want you to rank them. All right.
Okay. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So we've got the Portland headlight, We've got Acadia National Park / Bar Harbor. We've got Mount
But that wouldn't be
Katahdin.
like slash Bar Harbor. That's like Portland Headlight slash the city of Portland. Like, what if they can't just throw Bar Harbor? It's Acadia National Park. Portland Headlight.
All right, we'll stick with
Acadia National Park. What else?
Yeah.
I'm
Mount
not
Katahdin.
allowing you to stick Bar Harbor into that. It's a whole city. It's got great bars. It's a different place. Acadia National Park, number 2. What else?
Yeah. Mount Katahdin, number 3. And then Old Orchard Beach, number 4.
Good ones. Good ones. Boy, very different too. And I'm going strictly for me. Okay, this is
right, because someone's coming in. They're like, "These are the places we want to go." We looked this up online, and you're like, "All right, well, this is where you got to go first."
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say Portland Headlight first, just because it's kind of the quintessential. You know, you got to go take. You're not going to be there long, but you go, you take your selfie, you walk around a little bit, you get that. Now you've checked off the big lighthouse, right? Like that's the lighthouse. It's beautiful.
You can see the forts while you're there.
Yeah, go and you go there. Usually have like the symphony playing on the 4th of July. If you can go on the 4th of July, that's good. But we'll say Portland Headlight number 1. Okay. Old Orchard Beach number 2. Because now you can you spend some time, you have some fun. Gorgeous strip of beach, like a hidden gem. Like most people think of Old Orchard Beach and thinking about the like honky tonk kind of party atmosphere going on, and that's all there. But that stretch of white sand sugar beach is unrivaled. It's right there with anything down to like Cape Cod National Shore, any of that. And way better lobsters. Don't give me any of that Cape Cod lobster crap. Okay, so now you got the beach and you got the lobsters, and then you turn around and you got a ton of like bars, pier pizza, French fries are fantastic. All right, so Old Orchard Beach number 2, Acadia number 3, and if you threw in Bar Harbor, that would be number 1. Okay, because Bar Harbor is great, but Acadia is cool. I mean, if you get to do all day, you go to like out to the Mount Cadillac. You know, if you go climb Mount Cadillac, you will be the first person in North America to see the sunrise. If you're up on top of Mount Cadillac, that is the first place to see the dawn of a new day in North America. All right, so there you go.
I've climbed it before multiple times, but
yeah, I've never done it. I'm not getting up at 2 a.m. to go climb a mountain and see the sunrise. What do you?
You give me the middle of the day, I'm not climbing a mountain.
yeah. Well, I mean, sunset, but it's behind you, so it's then you got to climb down in the dark. That's not good either. Go at noon, have lunch, come back, and then
it makes you feel better though. You can drive to the top if that makes you feel any better.
I don't do that. Like Mount Washington in New Hampshire, that's great. Like you climb Mount Washington, you've climbed the tallest mountain and there's cars going by you on the auto road. Like there's also the Cog Railway. If you've done the Cog Railway, we're in New Hampshire now. Cog Railway is the thing that goes in and goes straight up. We did that last year. It's a great moment. And there's only a couple points where the hiking trail sort of comes right next to the train. So you're going up in this, and you're going up this cog thing that's pulling you up. And we go by these 2 hikers, and it was a man and a woman. And in unison, they stopped, turned, and mooned us. And it was the great, like the whole train erupted. It was the great, forget anything else you'll see. That was the best view. And then Mount Katahdin, whatever, it's a mountain. Go climb it. That's whatever. I've climbed Mount Katahdin. It's cool. Go in the winter and snowmobile, but don't climb it because it's icy. But you can snowmobile all around it.
I was going to say it's popular for wintertime. I would say like even more so than probably in the summertime.
Yeah, because that's the only place that has snow left. Although I'm going snowmobiling tomorrow. But I just how do we pick up that list? That's not the top 4 things in Maine. Is it?
That's like,
I don't think it is.
The only other one that wasn't on there.
It should be an island. You got to go out on an island in Casco Bay. You got to go to like Peaks Island or Great Diamond Island.
They had like a Gunquit and the Perkins Cove. Like
Perkins Cove is fun. Here's one: Auburn, Maine. Gipper's Sports Bar and Grill and order the TC sandwich. Now that is what you want to do when you're in Maine, okay? So nice little chicken, bacon, avocado on focaccia. Just that one the other night. Very nice. And
did
then
you get to pick it?
I did. I was somewhat involved. I mean, they didn't just say do anything, but they said it's a chicken sandwich. What do you want to do with a chicken sandwich? And then beginning in May, you'll get to go to Portland Hearts of Pine will be number 1 on that list because I'm part owner. So there you go. Go see a soccer match.
Well, we'll have to have you on again at some point, and you can talk about the Portland Hearts.
Talk
Portland
about lower
Hearts
division
fine.
U.S. soccer. You want to dive into
Yeah,
USL
you
League
know.
One season?
Listen, all I'm picturing is, have you seen that show with what is it, Ryan Reynolds in it? That's about the
Welcome
soccer
to
team.
Wrexham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basing,
That's just what I'm
basing
picturing.
a lot of this on that. That's just stealing all
Okay.
their ideas.
All right.
We have Stoke Coffee like they do as their sponsor. It's cool. We actually open, and it's not cool because I'm going to miss it, but we have our first match in March in Naples, Florida, right by Fort Myers, but it's 4 days after spring training ends. I will have just left.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, wow.
I got to go to Mexico with the team. We're playing 2 exhibition games in Monterrey.
That would be super fun.
Against the team from Monterey. Not even against another.
What's the point of being an owner, TC, if you can't change the schedule around?
We actually tried. No, that's it. I'm glad you said that because we tried and failed. Because they have other games before we get there. But we tried to get a week earlier because I wanted to bring them all over to JetBlue and meet the Red Sox. It would have been a cool little but it didn't happen.
Now, there's some debate about this. Where is the field going to be in Portland? It's not right next to the Sea Dogs Park, is
right
it?
next to it. Yeah, Fitzpatrick Stadium. Right.
Oh, wait, is it literally the backfields right behind the stadium?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big football field. We're putting $2.5 million of renovations into it, and a new turf and a new lighting and a new press box. That's a great example. All these years I've been to fields, and I'm always complaining that the press boxes now all suck in these stadiums because they're all corporate suites and they shove the media in a lousy location. So I happened to be there on the day they were looking at the renovations. I was like, yeah, the media doesn't need all this. These should be corporate seats. Because now I'm an owner. I don't care about the media. I just want the money from the corporate. Instantly. It took 5 seconds for me to sell my soul and stop caring. But that's all right. It's right next to Marcelo Meyer hit his first home run, and it would have hit our center defender if we'd had a match going on.
Oh, damn.
That's where it is. Close. It's right on the other side of the wall.
So are they using the clubhouse that the baseball team uses too?
No, and they're building a new one. I was there today. The Sea Dogs are building a brand new clubhouse. Mm-hmm. And we are, so there's the baseball field, right? The headlock field and the outfield, and then we're beyond the outfield. Behind the first base side of the seats, the concourse, is the new clubhouse. It's in that parking. It's the only place there was any parking is now a clubhouse.
Literally, yeah.
So there's less.
So
parking.
You guys have your own. You'll have your own clubhouse.
We're building our own locker out by the field on the highway side.
Oh, okay. Okay. Near the bridge.
And it's cool because it's the Maine Celtics, formerly the Red Claws, play right there. That's the Expo. That's right above the baseball diamond. And then the Maine Mariners, the East Coast League team, practices at the Portland, it's the Trobe Ice Arena, which is right there. They don't play their games there, but it's all right there, which is cool. And there's no parking at all. So don't complain to me. I don't have parking. I'm an owner. I don't have parking.
Well, definitely excited for your ventures coming up with that, for the Jimmy Fund and everything you're going to be doing coming up in the next couple of months. Excited to see you on NESN this coming season as well, with your mystery cast of characters that will hopefully soon be revealed.
It better be soon. Lou Maloney and I are doing the spring training stuff. I know that.
That's awesome.
And the games will be Lou and Will Middlebrooks. Obviously, we'll bounce around a little bit. We're doing our shows starting on the 12th. Is that a Wednesday? February 12th, I think, is our first Red Sox in Fort Myers. Lou Maloney and me, and away we go.
So close. I love it.
That's coming right up. Wow.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, I'm going to Florida.
That's awesome.
So there you go. It all begins.
Well, that'll be feeling pretty nice compared to the weather we've been getting. I know today was -7 degrees, I think, when I woke up. So
I was -10 when I walked the dog this morning. We're in Bridgeton, Maine. I had to pick her up after she did her business, because we were halfway up the hill and she refused to put another paw down. She just stood there with one paw up in the air because the ground was too cold, looking at me. So I had to pick her up and carry her home.
Oh.
I can relate to that.
It's 65 here today. Sorry.
Eh.
And that's people complain about how it's cold
well,
though.
that's, yeah.
And I'm like, no, this isn't cold. I was like, I
Right.
grew up in cold.
Doesn't build character. That's all
No.
I'm saying.
No,
Cold builds character.
exactly.
Okay.
It's 17 at my house right now, so
Oh, I bet I got you beat.
probably.
Stand by. This is nothing better than a podcast where people are just looking at the weather app on their phone.
Right.
It's 6.
Woo.
Oh, it just went 5. It just went
Wow.
down before my
Down to
eyes.
5.
5, and it's gonna be -3 tonight. And I'm going snowmobiling all day tomorrow. That's brilliant.
It's gonna be
Can't
nice
wait.
and cold.
I've got it up at 7 in Augusta. So yeah, you got me beat there for sure.
Augusta's the big city. I'm up in the mountains. Okay, you're in the big city, state
Yeah,
capital,
the big
power seat
Yeah.
of the state of Maine.
yeah. That's so where we're at. We living it out here. Well,
Cody.
Tom, thank you so much. Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much
Reference
for.
that 4 people just got, but there you go.
I literally live half a mile from the high school. It's yes. I
Coney
can
is
hear
the
their
high
games.
school of Augusta, Maine, as I'm sure you all know.
Yes, everyone, common
course.
knowledge.
Of course.
Jordan's like,
Coney,
wait,
I
what's
love
Maine?
it. Yeah.
What's Maine?
Is that the place that doesn't have Wi-Fi? That was that the joke a
Yeah,
few years
right.
ago?
That was for a long time. I would get. You say this is explicit, so I'll say it. I got shit from everybody on the Section 10 podcast because they say I'm the only person with Wi-Fi in Maine. Like
In the whole of Maine.
In the all of Maine, I pulled all my executive privilege to get Wi-Fi.
You somehow got
Hey,
mine.
I will
because
say,
my
look,
Wi-Fi's
I'm
been
looking at
shit
the screen.
tonight.
My Wi-Fi is a hell of a lot better than all 3 of yours.
Mhm.
Bailey's a close
Oh,
second. Bailey,
yeah.
your Wi-Fi is pretty good. You're in LA, but you two, my God,
I'm
do
on
a
my
podcast.
hotspot right now.
get the 1 gig, pay the money. Jeez.
Yeah,
Using a
yeah. It's not.
personal hotspot off your phone. I mean, just
I
buy
am.
the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, or the newer computer. That's
Or
some of the
also
issue
that.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
That's been my issue anytime I'll travel. It's like the old cranky, janky laptop. And now I come home to this and I'm like, oh, it's so nice.
See, the great thing is, like, I've even got it. Like, it's a separate camera, so I can even.
Ah,
show,
that's super
I
nice.
can show you
Oh, I
guys.
I get to
Yeah,
see how
look at
shit my Wi-Fi is through.
It's
TC's
really
great
bad.
For
Wi-Fi.
somebody else.
I just show you how bad it is. But the mic is glowing. The mic is glowing.
It's
The mic
looking
is
good.
glowing.
It's looking
I
great.
will give you credit for that. All right. There we go. Behind the scenes.
Well, we appreciate you and your time tonight. On behalf of the Pesky Report, we welcome you back at any point. And like I said, we'll be looking forward to seeing you on NESN this year. Guys, if you're not following TC on Twitter, you're missing out on potential, Twitter beefs or X beefs in the future, as they call it. So you never know. It's a new chapter, new page could be turning. I don't know. That's really all I got at that point. And also, you got to make sure that you're taking a look at the Wikipedia page for Tom at some point there to
Yeah. Right.
glimpse that cat.
Right. You
cat
put that there, I
incident.
guaranteed it. Guaranteed
Probably
you put
did.
that. Yeah.
Paid
Thank you guys. It's
someone
been
to do
fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you so
No,
much.
we
TC.
appreciate it. On behalf of Beyond the Monster guys, have a great rest of the week, and go Sox.